Today, I'll explain the complicated and sensitive topic of the US asylum visa process. In the next 20 minutes, I will explain everything from the application procedures to the types of hardships and persecution recognized by the US immigration for asylum visas, the evidence you will need, the potential costs, and the critical role of legal help or attorney help or the lawyer help you will need. We'll cover every step, A to Z, including the temporary settlement process, how the asylum office works, the role of an asylum judge, and how applicants survive throughout this long and difficult process of getting an asylum visa in the US. This is the second video in the series on US immigration. In the first video, I had discussed arriving in the US on a visit visa and then trying to stay here for legal employment. But this video is all about the asylum process, or Panagazin visa, what they call in Urdu. But before we dive into the details, let's understand why understanding this asylum process really matters through a real story. A young man from Karachi who I know feared for his life because of his issues with the establishment in Pakistan arrived at the US-Mexico border some time ago with absolutely no visa to the US. Not even a visit visa, only hoping to enter illegally with the help of some people smugglers in Mexico. What he got was only a visit visa to the country of Ecuador in South America. From there, he had traveled thousands of miles on paved and unpaved roads for months on buses and the backs of the closed containers on the trucks, walking on foot in the jungles, in the mountains, finally arriving at the hot desert of the US-Mexico border, full of hope and seeking safety in the US. Despite his genuine fears of persecution in Pakistan, his lack of understanding of the US asylum process and the insufficient legal documents that he had led to his claim being denied. Even though he had somehow entered the US, he was quickly sent back to Mexico and from there back to Pakistan after spending every single penny he had. And added to that were lakhs of rupees in debt for his parents. This heart-wrenching story is not unique. There are hundreds more stories like this one. It shows the importance of understanding the asylum process. And that is what I will show you in this video. I will also tell you a success story towards the end of this video where a family did get their permanent visa. I'll show you what they did different. But regardless of the path you choose, understanding what qualifies as persecution and the evidence needed to apply for asylum visa is critical. Whether it's because of your race, religion, political opinion, or membership in a particular social or political group, we'll dive into what these categories mean and the evidence that can strengthen your claim. But that's where it gets tricky. Many asylum seekers face questions about discrepancies in their interview, especially if they had entered on a visitor visa but later applied for an asylum. How do you address those concerns? How do you ensure your story is heard and understood? This is where the importance of getting the help from a US asylum attorney comes in. But seeking asylum is more than just a legal process. It's a journey that involves time, emotion, and often significant expense. I'm talking about thousands and thousands of US dollars. We'll discuss the potential consequences of different outcomes and the resources available in the US to help you guide and support on this complex journey. But first, let's discuss the 4 categories of the asylum visas available in the US. Number 1 is affirmative asylum for those who are in the US somehow, legally or illegally, but still not in the deportation orders. Number 2 is defensive asylum visa for those who have been ordered by the asylum officers to be deported for lack of evidence of persecution or for faking persecution. Number 3 is a refugee status visa for those outside the US but who have applied for refugee status through UNHCR or the United States High Commission for Refugees or any other refugee organizations. And number 4 is temporary protected status visa for those in the US from the countries experiencing unsafe conditions. Each category has its own specific criteria for admission, the documents required, and the processes throughout. Now, let's go into some detail of these four categories. If you are in the US on a visitor visa but need to apply for asylum, you are looking at the affirmative asylum process. This involves filing a form, providing detailed information, attaching evidence of persecution, going through fingerprinting and interviews, and then waiting for a decision. It's a journey filled with legal intricacies. But what if you're already in the removal proceedings and have been ordered deported by the asylum immigration officer? That is where defensive asylum comes in. This process is the next step in the removal procedures, taking place in the immigration court before a judge. You do need a paid private US attorney at this point to help you fight the legal case before the judge. But if you're not in the US yet, you might be looking at the refugee status visa, which involves United Nations referrals like UNHCR, interviews, security checks, and a lot of waiting outside of the US. First, understand that seeking asylum is a legal right for those who are fearing persecution in their home country because of their race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social or political group, or having a particular political opinion. Now let's break down the entire process in much more detail. Number one, making the decision and preparing your case. Before anything else, you need to be in the US or at a port of entry, meaning either an airport or the border with Mexico or the northern border with Canada. The moment you decide to seek asylum, start gathering evidence, personal testimonies, medical reports, police reports, news articles, or any other document that can prove your identity and the persecution you are claiming. Number two, filing your application. You will need to file Form I-589, application for asylum and for withholding of removal within 1 year of arriving in the US. There's no fee for this form, but the details and the accuracy of your application are crucial. Attach all your evidence, the photographs, the documents, the testimonies, the news clippings, everything, and be as detailed as possible about the persecution you have faced or you fear facing if you return. Number three, now, the receipt and waiting period. Once you have filed your application, you will get a receipt. Be prepared to wait for a long time. The process can be long due to backlogs of such visa applications. During this time, you might be eligible for certain benefits and employment authorization, typically 150 days after filing your application. At number four, the asylum office and interview. Your case will be assigned to one of the 8 asylum offices in the US or to an asylum officer who conducts circuit rides to other locations. The interview is a critical part of your application. You will be asked detailed questions about your application and history. Be honest, consistent, and thorough. You can bring a lawyer or a community representative or a religious organization representative. It's highly advised that you do, and these representatives have to be based in the US. They have to be legal residents or legal citizens of the United States. At number 5, after the interview, the officer might make a decision on the same day, but often you will receive later by mail. If your case is approved, congratulations. You have been granted asylum to stay in the US permanently. If not, and you're in the US without legal status, your case will be referred to the immigration court. At number 6, at the immigration court. Here, an immigration judge will hear your case. This is a more formal process, and having legal representation is crucial, meaning having an attorney or a lawyer with you. You will present your case, your evidence, and possibly have witnesses who can testify for you that you did go through all these hardships and persecution. The judge will then make a decision. If denied, you can still appeal. At number 7, the temporary settlement step. Throughout this process, finding a place to live and supporting yourself or your family can be challenging. Many asylum visa seekers turn to community organizations, religious organizations, and non-profit organizations for assistance with housing, food, and other essentials, and they are available. Number 8, in all this process, you will be living in uncertainty. This period can be one of the most challenging. You are waiting for a decision that will affect the rest of your life. It's essential to seek support from friends, from groups, whether through community groups, counseling, or legal aid organizations. But stay connected with others and take care of your mental health. At number 9, the approval, if it comes. And what's next? If your asylum is granted, you can apply for a green card 1 year after your approval. You can also apply for asylum for your spouse and your children. This is the time to start rebuilding your life, to work, study, and plan for a future in the US. Congratulations. But what at number 10? If there's a denial, there will be an appeal. If denied by the asylum judge, consult with an attorney or your lawyer about an appeal. You have the right to appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals and further to the federal courts, if you can afford it, to wait or to fight your case in those courts. Each step has very strict deadlines, so be prompt and precise in your actions. You cannot wait. But each step will require thousands of dollars for the attorneys and for your own living in the US without a legal employment in all this time. In a nutshell, the asylum process is complicated and can be emotionally very taxing. It's filled with legal complexities and uncertainties, but it's also a path to safety and a new life for many. If you or someone you know is considering this journey, first show them this video, then stay informed of all the legal options and hold on to hope. It's difficult but not impossible if your case for asylum is genuine. Your story is important, but your life is more important. Now let's end all this on a note of hope with another real story. I know of an Ahmadi family from Pakistan who were genuinely persecuted by the Sunni mobs in Lahore. Their house was burned. Their mosque was burned. They somehow came to the US on a visit visa and applied for asylum in the US. They faced many hurdles, but with the right attorney, a strong case with lots of real evidence in the form of pictures, newspaper articles, personal evidence from the neighbors in Pakistan and in the US, and a bit of luck, they were granted asylum. Today, they're building a new life, free from fear, contributing to their new Ahmadi community here in the US, Qadiani community in the US, and looking forward to a brighter future. So understanding your legal options and rights is the first step to making informed decisions about your future. Remember, while this road might be tough, knowledge is your power. Stay informed, seek help from the informed people around you, and never lose hope. That's all for today. Until next time, take care of yourself and your loved ones. I'm Dr. Saleem, signing out from Subah Subah, America se.